Now boarding solo flight with Nicole Anderson.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Solo Flight Podcast. I don't know why I'm so nervous. I don't because I've been on a long break, so we're gonna get back into the flow together. So guys, forgive me if it's a little awkward in the beginning. Anyway, I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about the power of self-talk. And as the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, diba? But what if someone doesn't know that saying or hasn't heard that before? How do they learn to make lemonade out of lemons? And inherently normal ba yung positive or negative self-talk? And they also say that experience is the best teacher. But I also believe that, you can also learn from a lot of people's experiences. And I think that's where this podcast grew from, is being able to learn from each of our journeys so that we don't feel so alone on this solo flight called life, right? So I'm so excited today because we have a very brave and inspiring woman who I really look up to joining me. And guys, please give a warm welcome. Kahit di kita, imagine mo na lang yung round of applause. Pero please welcome Mikaela Lagdameo on the podcast.
Hi, and thank you so much, Nicole, for having me. This is actually so timely because I have been doing a lot of self-talk lately, especially this past week. And I feel like every week, every day, there's something to learn. And the thing is, it all goes on in your head.
Yeah.
It's not outside, but it's inside. And that's where you learn all the lessons.
Yeah.
It's a lot of self-talk.
Okay, so let's get right into it. And maybe you can give us a little bit of a background and history. I mean, a lot of our listeners, we have listeners who I'm sure know your story because you've been in the limelight for a very long time. I remember looking up to you when I was Candy Magazine days pa. I would make ipon may baon. Yeah. So how did your journey start being in the public eye? And okay, we'll go there muna.
Okay, so I started modeling at 15, and then by 18, I actually became a mom, and that was not in the plan. I was still in college, and I had one more sem to go. But it was there, and I wanted to finish school, so I finished school being a mom. And my life just totally made a shift from there. But it didn't stop me from continuing what I enjoy doing. And at that time, I thought, okay, my career is over. I said, you're pregnant, you gave birth, you're breastfeeding. And at that time, that was in 2004.
Wait. So take me to the time, when you found out. How did you find out?
So what happened was, my husband then was the first sort of boyfriend that I had. And I was really naive about what would get me pregnant.
Yeah.
I was so sheltered actually.
Okay.
So I had no experience whatsoever, and so the first time I got pregnant.
First time pregnant na agad. Syempre,
Yeah.
yeah. At what age? 18.
18.
Yeah.
And so that just took a shift. But at that time, I really wanted to get married. I knew for a fact that I would become a mom. And
You knew na.
I was set. I was like, okay, I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. And so 2 years after we got married, that was a whole thing also because my parents did not want us to get married so soon.
Yeah.
But I was so determined. I'm like, this is what I want. I want a family. I want to make my family whole. And yeah, right after I graduated, I got married at 20.
Oh, so you made sure you graduated first. And you were a mom while being in school.
Yes.
Wait, okay. What's that
Yeah.
like? I can't imagine. Because
So-
for me, school's already overwhelming.
It was, and I was doing my thesis, and I was in information technology, IT, so it was a lot of programming, lots of late nights, computer stuff, and I just don't know what allowed me to finish. I guess just my drive to accomplish things. I had a child, I had my daughter, and I didn't want to quit.
Did you have to move out immediately upon becoming a mom, or were you able to stay at home?
No, I stayed with my parents
Yeah.
because also they believed also that I shouldn't move out yet until I'm properly married and all of
Okay.
that. So we went through the whole, the whole passage of what is ideally morally right.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, aside from that, but yeah, we waited till I got married, and then that's when I moved out and started my own family.
Wait, so did you, being a mom in school, did you ever feel people would like treat you a different way or
Yeah, so I was in a Catholic school. I was in San Beda in Alabang. And of course, it was looked down upon. So I would go to school hiding my tummy because I had to hide it.
you had to hide it?
Yeah, I had to hide it. And also because really the society then was also, they were not accepting.
Yeah.
I had to hide my pregnancy until I was ready to give birth. So it's so funny because I really started to show around 7 months already. In fact, I even did a candy cover and I was pregnant.
What? You did
at
a cover?
6 months.
Wait,
Yeah.
and no one knew on set?
Yeah.
So what would you say? Like, and
Nothing,
you
I
didn't
was
bloat.
just-
You were just
it
like,
was starting already,
Yeah.
but after that, I had to go in hiding. And I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of guilt, but also inside me, I was really excited to be a mom. So there was that. I had my core, my group of friends who were very supportive, and my family also who were. So even then, like, I was dealing with a lot of stuff in my head.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it really started from there.
So at that age, because I really want to understand and I'm trying to go deeper because I can't fathom and wrap my head around it because number one, 18 or for me even 20 are such formative years and you're really just trying to figure yourself out and figure life out, have your own self identity, plus you have all these insecurities and then you're dealing with
Yep.
hormones, being pregnant on top of that. I almost like I don't think I could handle it. And what would you do in terms of like your self-talk because you were in the public eye. You just said you were hiding a pregnancy, doing a
Yeah.
cover of a
Yeah.
magazine. So parang one part of you is you are this public facing persona, right? And you have to present yourself a certain way. And then in school you're still a student, you're still a girl, right? You're figuring life out. And then you come home and then you have to be like, but now I have to be a mom.
Exactly. So
What's that
I
like?
feel like my life just had to speed up. I had no time to take time. It's like everything for me was rushed. It's like rush school, rush pregnancy, mom, and then straight to marriage. It's like, I see now where my parents were coming from. It's
Yeah.
always looking back while they were telling me to slow down. But at that time, I was like, no, this is what I want. And I went for it. And I believed in it. And until this day, though, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Because that led me to where I am now. I'm happy with how my kids are. I'm so grateful, actually. There are a lot of lessons in that even through hard times, it shapes you to who you are now. Even if at that time it seems so difficult and it seems wrong
Yeah.
to many. But to you, maybe that was the path that you were meant to take. Although then, I wish I knew more. But in the end, it gave me time now to look back and reflect on that time. And I have time now to make up for what I lost.
Yeah.
Because even at 40, now I'm turning 40 this year, so it's a big year for me. I'm going back to everything that I feel that I missed out on.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm living life now.
I know, and that's why like I don't.
Why am I getting teary-eyed?
No, it's okay. That's why we have tissue. Go lang, girl. Ready tayo dyan. No, because I really admire you for that. Because not a lot of people can handle that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. Plus, may postpartum pa.
Yeah,
Diba?
yeah. But
Like-
at that time, it was not identified, so I didn't really know what was going on. I was just going with it. I
Yeah.
was breastfeeding. I was working. It was really breastfeeding, working, and school. That was
your life.
Yeah, and that time, after I gave birth, I realized now that wow, my career actually peaked from then. That's when I got my biggest campaigns. That's when I was flying to
Really?
Hong Kong, China, Thailand after I gave birth. So it's like,
Wait,
in a
did you
way-
hide it? No one knew pa?
No, there I admitted.
You admitted
There
na.
after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm never gonna hide my daughter.
Yeah.
That's why I lost a few jobs because of it. But I felt like I was proud of her, and I am, and I would never replace that experience for anything else, regardless, because that taught me a lot about, thinking about others other than themselves. I was really selfless. My life really became about my daughter and less about me. I feel
Yeah.
like that's why now I'm going back to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because now you have the time to do that.
Now that my kids are older and they have their own lives and things that I had to detach from being so because they have to learn to live their own lives too
Yeah,
now. So now I have the time for me.
I love that. Now that you're a mom, right? And you said now you have this time for yourself. I don't know how you have the time to do everything because you're a mom of how many? 3, right?
Now it's 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you were juggling a career, you had to go through school, and then on top of after school, you had your career, but at the same time, I remember looking back at your timeline, ang dami mo ring racket. I remember there was a time where you and I were working the same office building. Remember,
Yeah,
remember
that's right.
when we were working corporate? And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. What was the job you had? You were a?
So I was a money broker, so we were trading bonds.
There. So you were a
Yeah.
money broker,
In the
but at the
finance
same time, you
industry.
also have your businesses. What was your other businesses?
So there was a lot. I went into clothing. I had a little shop in Jupiter, and then I went into the food business, and then I had my agency, and then I was the vice president of the professional models PMAP.
Yeah.
And then I was just always doing something. I think I could never stay put because I think at a young age I knew that I had to rely on myself.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't want to burden anyone. At a young age, at 15 actually, when I started earning from commercials, I pretty much did not get allowance anymore. I was on my own. I was paying my own bills. Although I was living with my parents, but it was great training because I managed my own money.
Yeah.
I bought my first car. I never asked for anything. If I wanted to travel, it was all me. And then at the same time, I was able to provide already for my daughter. So ever since, it's like I got into that habit of just being sustainable in my own way. I didn't have to ask anyone for money. That's why even throughout my marriage and now, it's like I've always kept my own money. And that's actually one thing I want, women to know and be empowered by. Like, have your own earnings, have your own money, because you never know what will happen. You don't want to have to rely on people, and
Yeah.
especially when you have to make, life altering decisions.
Yeah.
And
You don't want to feel stuck in a situation.
yes, and it really helps. There's something about earning your own money that boosts your confidence.
Yes.
And it also allows you to be more disciplined with your expenses, and it teaches you a lot of things. And I learned that early on. Actually, since I was in grade school, I was already selling jellies to my classmates,
Yeah.
for extra allowance. Like I always just had this mindset and excitement to multiply my own money.
Wait.
So-
Okay. That's so interesting because obviously you wear so many hats, right? And so you're an entrepreneur, you're a mother, you're a broker, but you're also a model, and you're a wife back then. And well, I'm just curious, I'm just going to go off topic. Was that a choice that you wanted to do? You wanted to be like, no matter what, I want to work and make my own money? Or was it because he said, no, you have to be 50-50? Or what was the decision?
It's not something that was demanded of me, but I really just wanted to, because I was so scared that I didn't want to be in lack. I didn't want to rely on anyone. So in fact, like, I would take over, like, there was no specific talk about who takes over who, but when they see a bill, I'll pay for it.
Okay.
It's like it was just automatic for me. I had a family, I would pay what I can.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if I wanted to travel, I would travel.
Okay, yeah.
It's like something that I didn't want to have to ask permission to buy a bag.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
to buy shoes, or to buy. That's why sometimes
Agreed.
when it's like, wait, it makes me happy. I work so hard. Why do I
Yeah.
have to ask permission? It just gave me that, I guess, that my own power.
Yeah.
If I could do that, then I felt like there was something in me na, hey, like, I can do this pala. And it actually encouraged me to move forward. to push forward.
Do you almost feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did you almost feel like subconsciously baka you also felt like may gusto kang patunayan because of what happened to you at such a young age? You almost felt like, even if this happened to me, I want to show either myself or to everyone, or maybe even to your daughter, na even if that happens, kaya ko pa rin to stand on my own 2 feet.
Yep, that is true. That actually did go through my head, and it's just like I said, it's just the fear of I don't wanna be in lack. I
Yeah.
don't wanna, because we did experience, like, honestly, like in my family, I was born into a great family with everything. Then there was a time where we lost something, and then after that, up again. So it's like being through that. I know what it's like to have plenty. I know what it's like to have none. And so for myself, I wanted to make sure also that I would always be okay, no matter what happened to my parents, no matter what happened to my husband. Then I would always be okay.
Yeah.
And so that thinking actually got me to where I am today. That's why even making the decision, although like I said, it was the hardest decision to make, to be able to say, enough with a marriage and to leave. Part of the strength also that carried me on was that I didn't have to rely on anyone.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's something I want to like really go deeper with, because I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching can resonate with wanting to find that empowerment from within, right? And you mentioned that is something that you wanted for yourself, but how did you have those internal conversations? Like, was it always just inherently you were always matapang and palaban, and you just, it never crossed your mind? Or were there moments of self-doubt, and how would you have that self-talk?
You know what? Contrary to what it looks like on the outside of being matapang and always on the go, I'm so inward. I'm so insecure. I feel like I don't even look at myself and think, wow, you did good. Like, sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, wow, what, am I worth anything? Like, I have been dealing with a lot of like low self-worth and no confidence at all. And even if people say, yeah, but you've been in the limelight, you've been shooting, you have this face, and but it's not about that. It's what goes inside here. Sometimes I just feel like I'm worthless. I have moments where I just down and I'm like, wow, like, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Do I even matter?
Yeah.
And those questions have come to me, and that's why self-talk is so important, because I have to be like, hey, snap out of it. Look at what you did. Look at what you have gone through, and you're still standing, and you're not crazy.
Yeah.
And you're not out on the streets, looking like, the world has like,
run you over.
Like run you over. And but even despite that, you can still smile, you can still be grateful, and you're here. And so until now, I still wrestle with those thoughts.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain why you go through it. Maybe it's because of experiences. Maybe it's because I would always downplay myself. Like, hey, I accomplished this, but then I'd always be like, yeah, but you could have done better. It's all those extra unnecessary voices that we have in our head, and really, like, this is the worst enemy.
It's so true.
Right?
Yeah, your head. I have the same days. Like, even this morning when I was alone here before you guys showed up, I was like, oh my god, kaya ko pa ba to? Like, how do you do a podcast? Pero clearly that is so trivial compared to yours, right? But it's really that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you actively do or physically? Like, for me, I find when I have moments like that, I'm like, okay, I'm spiraling, I need to go for a walk. What do you do?
Yeah,
Like,
so for me, it's an ice bath, because there's something with an ice bath at home that it clears my head. It allows me to just zone in and reset. So I'm in there for 5 minutes. It's 10 degrees. And whenever
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
That's
I try to do it
insane.
at least thrice a week.
Yeah.
But especially when I have bad days. I go in there and I reset and I come out. I'm like, okay, I can do this. There's a little bit more strength. And then I've been getting to this practice called, it's by Human Garage. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I saw you post it.
Yeah,
Can
so
you explain what it
Yeah,
is?
so Human Garage, really, I've been following them for quite some time, but I got the opportunity to actually have like a one-on-one with them. And basically, it's giving you the power and the knowledge to heal your own body, because our bodies were created that way actually. And it's just by breathing, movement, and all of that, it allows you to release emotions. It allows you actually to heal yourself from any ailment, from pains. And I just do it 20 minutes a day.
What does it do? Is it like stretches? Is it
So
workouts?
basically, it's a lot of breathing. So basically, the like a basic movement is you cross your leg, you put your arm here, and then you go here, and then you breathe, and then you.
Okay.
It's like a lot of deep breathing and movement, and you can follow that on the app. It's free.
Okay.
And it will allow you to do like a 1 day, 3 day, 7 day, 28-day reset. It will just keep unlocking.
Okay.
And it's free, and you can do that every day, and that has done so much for like my mental health and just getting into the movement and practice, and no more aches and pains. Like before, when I would travel, like after a day of walking or skiing or whatever,
Yeah.
after that you're like pains here and there. With this one, because I've been doing it now for 2 months,
Yeah.
nothing. Like I had
Really?
no aches and pains. I have more energy. I feel like now when, let's say, I'm angry,
Yeah.
or when I'm really sad and just crying the whole day,
Yeah.
I know how to release it. It's not stored anymore. Because sometimes, like before, me personally, when I'm angry, I'm really angry.
Yeah.
And I keep it there, and I'm thinking all these things.
You
But in the
ruminate
end,
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in the end, that's actually affecting you. The person who you're angry at
It's
has
true.
no idea.
True.
So why are you
And then,
torturing yourself?
Happy pa
arguing
sila.
Yeah.
Pero ikaw, miserable ka.
Right? You're
Yeah.
like, is this worth it? Like,
Yeah.
I'm punishing myself for the anger in this person who's happily living their life.
Yeah.
And here you are suffering. So that's one thing I learned about emotions. Whatever you feel, if you're angry, if you're sad about something, you're just pulling it back to you. You're boomeranging it back to you. They have no clue. So why am I gonna punish myself? Like I said, so now I release it. So I feel it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I feel this anger, but right now, this is not what I need. I'm done with that feeling, and I release it. And then you breathe it out, and then you do all these things, and it really helps. And after that, I feel so much better. It's a lot of inner work, and it's not something that happens overnight. Because I do have moments where I feel angry and bothered and, sad, but it's really not worth it. You carry that, you get it, you carry it, and you
Let it
throw
go.
it back into the world. You
Yeah.
know, you don't need that. And it takes a lot of practice, and it will keep happening
Yeah.
over and over again till you get it.
Yeah. So that's one thing or two things, the ice bath and what's this called again? Sorry.
Human garage.
Garage.
Yeah, fascial maneuvers.
Fascial maneuvers.
Yeah.
What other practices do you do?
Okay, so one thing I think that is important for everyone to do is to actually feel your emotion. A lot of us here in the Philippines, we don't cry. Everyone's like,
Wait.
and I am guilty of that, because sometimes it's like, we're
Yeah.
crying. Diba? We're like, we feel like crying, and we're like,
Yeah.
like, why? Let it out. Your body wants to release it. We gotta release it. When we're angry, have a moment. You go into your room like, I'm so angry, and like, hit
Yeah.
stuff. But don't hurt anything, Don't hurt anyone. I'm just
Your
saying,
pillow na lang.
feel it and release it and let it go. And after that, it feels so good. Like, okay, that's done. I can let go of it. Because if not, when we harbor things, when we keep all these feelings, it eats up inside. And then it affects how we are. It affects our mood. It affects how we speak to people. And that's why you see a lot of angry people. And you see they're so snappy.
Yeah.
Because everything is just inside. So we have to let it go. And that's why I always tell my kids, it's okay to cry. If you
Yeah.
want to cry, let's cry together. Like,
Yeah.
especially my youngest one now, like, because he's the one with me most of the time since my daughter's away. And I always tell him, do you feel sad? Okay, it's okay to cry, and let's cry together. And then I'll
Yeah.
cry with him, and then I go, do you feel better?
Yeah.
Like, don't be ashamed to feel every emotion. And I think that's part of the things that help you heal.
Yeah.
Accepting everything as it is and feeling what you need to feel.
How do you find the strength to even get to that point? Kasi I think it's easy to say,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
'di ba, ang dali sabihin, pero ang hirap kapag nandyan na eh. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And especially if it's big emotions that you're feeling, like where did you find the strength to allow yourself to feel all these
Okay, I
emotions?
think when something major happens in your life and you have no other choice, nothing else to do but to cry or to just sit there and be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I just had no choice but to feel it all. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it all because I have nothing else to do anyway. I can't change it. I have no
Yeah.
control over it. I'm just gonna cry.
Yeah.
So, you know, especially when, you know, like my whole separation was new and I had moments where I was alone at home. I would just sit there for hours and I would just cry. Like, literally, like in the movie where you're crying on the floor
Yeah.
and you're crying on the, you know, just on the wall. Like, everything is just crying. I've never cried so much in my life. And from then on, I realized, wow, that actually felt good. And then I started to be more in touch with my emotions and just be real. You know,
Yeah.
I think going through something so difficult just allows you to be real. It's either you run away from it
Yeah.
or you just fully accept it. So that's one thing I learned, to embrace everything that's hard. I see it, it's hard, I can't go on, it's hard,
Yeah.
and I'll take it and I see it for what it is, and then I face it, because sometimes you're standing there and you're stuck and you're frustrated, but like, what else can I do? There's
Yeah.
nothing else but to sleep and then wake up the next day and it's still there.
Yeah.
But what do? Do you stay there and sulk? Or do you do something about your life and find something else that makes you happy? So I was just always on this constant thing, okay, I feel bad here, but how can I make myself feel good? Whether it's a walk or even just eating good food. So now, you know, like I realized before I was always shopping, like bags, shoes,
Yeah.
the latest of everything. And now I realize when I travel now, I just want to see nature. I want to see people. Like, I want to eat good food, and I'd rather spend on all those experiences and
Yeah.
see how it can make me feel better. That's why last year, I went on this thing. Like I told myself last year, every month I'm gonna travel. I wanted to do a trip every month last
Okay.
year, and I did it. And I was like, wow, I never got to do that in my whole life.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it, and for me that was such an accomplishment. And just being able to do that for myself. And
Exactly. Like to finally have a moment where it's okay to be selfish.
yes,
Yeah. And I love that you're doing this and you're openly sharing it with people, because I feel like, especially in our culture in the Philippines, there's always this shame, especially put on women, where dapat lahat ng tao uunahin mo kesa sa sarili mo. Tas wala nang natira.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. We forget so much about ourselves that we give to other people. We don't make time for ourselves anymore. Like even before, life was just a rush, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's how my life was before. I was just hopping on from one project to another, work to work to work, business. I'm like, I was just busy with all of that, but I totally did not mind how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And so I was just empty.
Yeah.
And then even after achieving everything and seeing all my accomplishments, I felt so empty. And I don't even know how to explain it, but maybe some of you might feel that. Like you've done so much and outside you appear to be this person who has accomplished a lot, but inside you're just like, who am I and what am I here for? You just feel sad and lonely and empty.
Yeah.
And I had to find that happiness again. Like, who am I really? What am I here for? And what am I here to learn? I think that's something that you should always ask yourself.
When you're able to parang almost take back your power and find the moment of, you know what, wait, I want to be in the moment, maybe because you said you were rushing
Yeah.
so much, right?
Yeah.
That finally you're able to kind of have that time to realize, wait, even if I've accomplished all of these things, you feel empty inside. And then you have that self-talk where you're like, okay, you found more intentionality. Like you wanted to
Yes.
be more intentional
That is true.
with the decisions you were making, rather than having things happen to you, because a lot of things happen to you that you have no control over, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like you had this switch, and maybe you can tell me about it, or when it happened, or a moment where you were like, I'm done having things happen to me, and rather than being reactive, I'm gonna be intentional with my decisions.
Yep, exactly. I mean, we cannot control what happens to us, what other people do, but we only have the control of what we can do. So it's your response to things, your reaction, what emotions you give out. Do you take ownership of it, or do you run away and be a hypocrite and wag na lang? I think it's also about being open and accepting how life is. Life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is not easy at all. And when I mean hard, it's like you're just down and like, I have no idea how I'm gonna go on through this day. And I've had days like that, and it just feels hopeless. And I always ask myself, what can I learn from this? What is the lesson here? Because that's the only way that I pull myself out from the situation. If I'm always there sulking, this happened, it's so bad, I'm so kawawa, and all of that, nothing's gonna happen to you. You're just gonna be in that circle,
Yeah.
and it's gonna happen again and again. But when you say, okay, this happened to me, how can I move forward and do something better if this happens again? I'm like, I should have done this. I should have said this. I could have responded better.
Yeah.
And then it happens again, you're more prepared, and then you're like, I'm stronger now. And I feel like life gives you so many opportunities until you learn the lesson, and it will keep repeating itself.
If you don't learn the lesson, it's gonna keep happening.
In some way or form,
That's
it will.
true.
And I've noticed it in my life recently. Just giving power to people. Because me, kasi I always give up fast, or I'm like, okay, I'm always scared about what
You don't
want
wanna
to
ruffle
say.
feathers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a hassle to anyone. I don't want to cause people to be angry. Like, that's always something that I was so, like, careful of. But you realize sometimes, you make mistakes and things happen. We have different characters, different personalities. You can't control everything around you, but if you learn the lesson soon enough, it will benefit you, and it will allow you to move forward better, wiser, and stronger.
Yeah, I love that. Wait, so I like what you're saying about what can I learn from this. Pero again, ang daling sabihin now kasi may hindsight ka na eh. And napagdaanan mo na. But in the moment, like I'm sure a lot of people are watching and listening to this, when you feel like wala ka na, or they've taken either your sense of identity or whatever it is, right? It could be grief from loss. When you feel that low, rather than having that self-talk where you're like, okay, what can I learn from this? Kasi in that moment, you don't have the capacity to think that way, right? And especially, I think it's harder in our culture because laging may stigma. Diba? And like, bakit laging kailangan may shame? And I tell this to my friends, like, oy, perfect tayo? You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy kasi to be like, uy, alam mo si ganyan, ganyan. I'd be like, okay, tapos tayo, perfect? Like, ang galing natin, grabe. You know, so when you feel like, because again, you are in the public eye, so obviously, what happened to you is inevitably, people will hear about it, right? And I know for me, when my struggles, it almost feels 10 times parang magnified kasi now you have to carry the shame publicly, diba? And parang, wow, ako pa yung maiiyak. No, pero kasi I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and it's really like, and this is why I always say, like, I really look up to you so much because that's so difficult to do. I don't know why I'm tearing up, but
It's emotional.
no, it really is emotional. And I'm not gonna hold back my feelings. I'm gonna cry because you said so. Wow. No, pero kasi I really admire you so much because I can only imagine how difficult that must have been like, right? And I am so sure that a lot of people and women are watching this and listening to you and are probably in that moment, in that situation where you were, rather than saying like what can I learn from this, because I think that's easier to do after
Yes.
you've let it,
Internalized
you've
and all
internalized,
of
right?
that, yeah.
Pero in the moment where it feels so dark and you're like wala na, what's the
that.
process?
You know, a lot of people who have not gone through a similar experience would look at me like, it's just another breakup, it's just another separation. And that's how I was before. I'm like, oh, you know, the easy way out is to leave. And I thought that until I went through it. Wow. And I was like, when you're there in that moment and you're like, do I stay or do I go? And it's like you're about to jump off a cliff because you don't know what's ahead. You're afraid about disappointing your kids, your family, but you're there and you just feel so empty, like your heart can't take it. I felt like my heart was gonna explode. I felt like disappearing from the world for just a moment. But I thank God that, you know, I didn't have any moments of like really deep depression you know, you want to end your life. And
Yeah.
I know some people may have that and I don't fully understand, but that's a different level. That's a different, you know, kind of like mental stage that I don't understand, but it's real and it happens and I get it. I get a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine when you hit that point, it's like, what am I here for? Because I feel like I've hit that end and I just wanted rest. I just wanted to be able to sleep at night. I wanted safety. I wanted at that moment I felt like I was just in the corner. I had nowhere else to go. And
How long did that decision take you? Because it's not an easy decision to
it's
make.
not. I think
Like
it was
that's not
the
something.
hardest.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah.
something you make overnight. I read an article in a study that said generally, for someone to decide for divorce, and we don't have that in this country, but for someone to decide to divorce, it takes an average of 2 years before that decision is made. How long did it take you to jump
say
and to
that
make
I
that
was-
decision?
Wow, I think just a few months because it was just every day of just nonstop arguing and I just wanted to sleep. You
Yeah.
know, like in those moments you have no rest. You are so tired. You are so tired of crying. You are so tired of fighting that you just wanted to end. And at that moment I thought it was only for a while. I thought it would be a
Like a
temporary
temporary.
thing. And then I thought we could work it out, but as time went by I realized, wow, like it's really heading there. And I never thought that I would be one of those people who would end a marriage. I thought I was gonna be married for life. I thought I was happy.
Yeah.
And I wanted my family to be to be complete. But you never really know how life turns out and what life gives you, and you make decisions. And unfortunately, like we all have cards that are shown to us and we just take it. And
Yeah.
I wanted to say something actually when you were speaking.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned also from, you know, when you have to make a hard decision, it's you're always concerned about people around you and people's input, people's advice.
Yes.
You gotta shut that down, even if it's people that mean well. And I was just overwhelmed with just so many voices in my head, with advice, with thoughts about what they would
Yeah.
think. But I had to ask myself, what do I want? And what do I want for my future? What do I see? What will bring me peace? And I had to not consider anyone else but my own for that moment. Because when you get into this situation about, especially about a marriage that has been there for, like, for me 20 years, that was half my life. And I had to really know for sure that it was me making the decision, that I had to own up to it. I had to accept every consequence because it is no joke. It's hard up to this day.
Yeah.
I it's not easy, and I'm going through struggles every day despite being happy and all of that, and you know, finding all the good things in life. But I struggle with it still every day. It's something that I have to be strong about. And it's not, and because I have to be strong, there's no other way.
There's
If
no
not,
choice.
it's just gonna eat me alive. And a lot of women actually have been reaching out and throughout this time and asking, should I leave or not?
Yeah.
I always say only you can answer that, because this is your life. you can't ask anyone to make the decision for you. If there's one decision that you have to make, you gotta know to your core that this is what you believe is right for your marriage. And I'm not saying, to leave your family, because if you can work things out, I would like people to work their marriages out. If you can, if there is actually something that you could do together, if you find like, hey, there is a chance pala, work on it. Because who wants to, have a broken family? No one wants that. We want, couples to thrive and be happy in their marriage. And maybe if they come from, a time where everything is just rocky, but they find their way back again, then good for you. It's
Yeah.
different for everyone, but you gotta know to your core and make that decision yourself, and know that, this is what I want. And also, I think prayer is so important, because you've gotta fully have that, that conviction, and like, Lord, I offer this all to you,
The
because
trust.
I cannot carry. Sometimes when I just don't know what to do, I'm like, Lord, please take this pain away, or take this heaviness, because I can't handle it. And be honest about it. Be honest about what you can handle, and you take it day by day. Things don't happen like, good things and all of that. They take time. You can't rush things just because, oh, it's happening to her, I should do it this way. Everyone has a different situation. So there's no blueprint. There's no like, oh, because she did it this way, I can do it this way.
Yeah.
No, I can't give advice that way also, because your circumstance is different. Your partner is different. There are
Yeah.
different circumstances. So it really is a personal map
Yeah.
to your life.
It's your own journey.
Yeah, it is your own journey. Everyone, those similar situations, we all have unique journeys, and also you have unique decisions and choices that you make.
That's true. Do you feel like since then to now, do you feel emotionally and physically different? Like, do you feel like, are you sleeping better at night? Are you,
Oh wow, yeah.
you feel like you're in a better headspace?
Yes, for sure. I have been sleeping so well, despite everything, because I think I'm able to release. I don't sleep with all those emotions in my head, although there are hard days, but I really make sure to just de-stress and really end with a prayer at night, because I think sleep is just the best gift
Yeah.
we can give to ourselves. And even just that talk in my head, I think I'm able to manage it better and work my way around that low self-esteem part, or when I feel just so low. I have found my rhythm of how to bring myself a little higher and to feel better. And it comes with time. Like, it's been nearly 3 years for me, and I'm still learning. It doesn't stop. I think, we should not stop learning. We shouldn't stop learning about how to make ourselves better, how to make our life better. And yeah, because once you hit the top, like, okay, I'm all good. I
Yeah.
don't think so. I
No,
don't
because
think
like you
so.
said, right? Like, life is hard, and it's not always you're at
And
the
then,
top
yeah.
forever, gonna at the top,
Yeah,
right?
it's a wave.
Yeah, exactly. And so having all of these experiences, and like you said, it's still a journey, right? You're still learning as you go. What sort of what have you learned through this journey that you feel like you can impart to your children? Because especially now you have a daughter who is now also an adult and living abroad on her own, right? Like, what advice or learnings do you feel like you can impart onto her through all of this and as you continue to learn?
Um, wow. So even, with my relationship with my kids, it's also been a journey. I wouldn't say it's smooth, because they're growing up also, but we're all learning from each other, and it is a journey. For me, it's, I think, the same thing. Like I said, it's really about acknowledging your emotions, knowing how to release it, knowing when patterns are wrong, even identifying, like, let's say the partner that she will end up being with, is how's their communication, is there respect, Is there, do you feel safe? I think as women, we always look for safety.
You want to feel safe.
Yeah, we're always just looking for a safe space. That's why do we like our rooms? Why do we like our homes? Because we feel safe there.
Yeah.
And we constantly also look for that in friendship. When you're with someone, you want to be able to open up your heart and not worry about them, blabbing out your whole life to another person. And I think trust also is so important. It's your trust, values, even just the basic values of a human person, respecting each other and owning up to mistakes. I think that's one thing also that, a lot of kids in this generation just kind of, ignore.
Yeah.
Owning up.
They don't want to have accountability.
Yes,
right?
accountability. And I think we have to go back to that. If you made a mistake, just say it. And even if it's embarrassing, even if you've said sorry a million times, but really mean it and own it and learn from it so that it doesn't happen again. Again, really, it's about character. I really wish that, my kids would learn that from me, to be honest and to not have guilt or shame, because that's one thing I think that we women deal with a lot. It's really the guilt and shame, and honestly knowing that we are not perfect. We are human beings that make mistakes, that but we get up again and then we learn. And don't be abusive with things. Care for people around you, care for the things that you have, be grateful every day. It's all those little things that matter. Slow down in life. Don't just keep going. And also I feel like it is also a coping mechanism when you're just on the go, because you don't want to deal with all the emotions you're feeling.
Yeah.
And reality.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so busy. Sorry.
So busy. I don't have time to
have
think
time.
about that. Yeah.
Because
That's true.
you really won't have time. You're working so hard. After that, you sleep. The next day, you don't have to deal with your emotions.
Yeah.
Because you're too busy with work. So now last year for me was like a chill month. I was really taking it slow, and that's why now I got a chop. Now it's like, you had too long a break last year. That was a lot of travel and really just slowing down, and a lot of therapy and a lot of healing and all of that. But now I'm like, okay, I gotta get back to work. So now I'm finding a little more balance. Like, okay, work today, maybe tonight, rest a bit tomorrow, I can rest a bit. Now I'm learning to slow things down and really live life as it's supposed to be, taking my time and really spending time also with the people I want to be with. I've lessened a lot of my events and just unnecessary parties here and there, because honestly my energy is just so drained. I see it now.
Yeah.
Why people just want to stay home at times, because it gets so draining. Like, I don't want to small talk anymore. When I spend time with people, I want to talk about life and what's meaningful and how can it help you. How does your experience help me? Like, it really matters to me now, because I get drained so easily and I'm affected. Like, if I feel you're sad and it's a close friend, I will help and take that sadness with you. But then after that, it gets draining too. So
Yeah.
really, time really is so valuable. And when you're younger, you kind of just
Take it for granted.
take it for granted. Now it's just so valuable. Everything, actually, for me, life has become so much more meaningful that I don't want to just go through life and just live wala lang. There always has to be meaning and purpose. And I don't know if that means something to someone, but for me, it's helped me grow. It's helped me live better. It's helped clear my mind and just give me more peace.
Yeah, I like that. I think if anything, what I'm taking away from that is that, like, you have really learned to become more intentional with your time, with your energy, with who you choose to surround yourself with and what you choose to consume, whether that be online, I'm guessing, but also with the people around you or the events you choose to go to. And also, I think, especially in moments or in situations where you've been through tough times, I think you have also valued learning to protect your peace.
Yep.
Right?
That is a big learning.
Yeah. And I find that that's super important talaga, because at the end of the day, like you said, right, if you're not at peace with yourself, you can't sleep. It's gonna affect you. It's gonna manifest not just emotionally but physically as well. And I can see it, like even with our energy and like how being with you now versus seeing you at events years ago, and Manila's very small, so we run into each other a lot, and we have a lot of common friends. And I think that is something that you can't buy, right? You can't buy peace of mind.
Yeah.
You can't buy knowing na mahimbing ang tulog mo sa gabi, right? But you went through that and you got through it, and you're still learning and you're still growing. But it's so inspiring to see it from the outside, because although I know, and no one will ever really know, even if how much you share online, kahit you write a manifesto or whatever, no one will ever know what it's like to walk in your shoes, because no one lived your life, right? And I'm so appreciative of you being able to be open and be vulnerable to share with me and online, because I know that through these stories, and for me personally, when I'm going through hard times, when I feel like I don't know what to do, I look to other people and I try to see how did they do it, and I try to look at as their, parang, even if you said there's no guidebook, parang for me it's almost like a guide. What can I take? What can I learn from them? Ganon.
Yeah.
What can I learn from them? How can I apply it to my situation? Because as you mentioned also kanina, everyone's circumstances are different, right? So even if there's some things that are similar with you and a listener, everyone's circumstances are different. So I super appreciate you being open and sharing that, especially publicly, because no matter what we do, there's always gonna be haters.
Yeah.
No, even if it's not online, right? There's always a haters in life.
Yeah, there is.
Right? And so to have that strength to be able to share, I think is so admirable. And I want to give you your flowers in saying that although I will never know what it's like, I see you and I super admire what you're doing. And I am so happy that now a lot more people can hopefully learn from that also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And really, it's not to garner hate towards another, because that's the last thing I want. I want peace. I want to be able to just live peacefully, and sharing my story is not to put another one down. It's really to show how I personally went through it, because it wasn't easy, and that's what I want to share with you. Like, don't just because I'm sharing this, like, don't pass judgment on someone else because it's clearly the other person that might be at fault. No, like, in this journey of life, we are all at fault at some point. A marriage, it takes two. So also for me, it's a learning, like, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from that mistake so I don't repeat it in probably a future relationship? What can I learn from this again to become better? So in the end, you can't point fingers like, because of this. Yeah, although sometimes, people say, it's obvious naman. But no, I'm at fault too. And I have learned to accept that. And I think that's part of growth. When you can actually look at yourself in the mirror, like, and say, you know what, you're not perfect. You did this, accept it. But you're not a bad person,
Yeah.
You have a chance to make things right. You have a chance to make your life better. You have a chance to be better for the people around you, for your kids. And forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself first, and then I think everything will just flow. And truly, what you give back to the world and those around you, it just comes back. Like I said earlier, when you're mad, it just comes back to you. It's the same thing. When you're grateful, when you're kind, when you give out love, when you give out forgiveness, it just comes back to you.
That's true. I can't say anything more than that. That's perfectly put. Thank you so much, Mika.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, guys. And guys, don't forget to check out and follow Mika's accounts. I will link them in the show notes or in the description box down below, wherever you guys choose to watch this. She also shares a lot of her journey, and you're also very vocal and, very vulnerable with your posts online. And I find that even in moments na, diba, sometimes you post and then you don't know, of course you see how many likes, but what is a like really, right? Like you don't know how much it resonates with people, but it does. And that's why actually from seeing your post, that's why I reached out to you, because I found like, oh, that helped me, and that was a great reminder. So if anyone wants to see that post or wants to follow also the Human Garage thing that you've been posting, I also saw that, you guys can check out her account. It will be down below. And once again, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. See you guys in the next one. Bye.